Morning, my brothers and sisters. What profit is there to making him Lord of my wallet? This is going to be from Deuteronomy chapter 14. So let me just start with sort of a negative accusation against God. Here's my accusation: God is so demanding of my paycheck, of my wealth, my money. He demands at least 10% in the tithe, and if you follow the Old Testament principles, maybe even more than 30% if you add it all up. And this burdens me, and I'm tempted to feel that God is such a bummer about money. And I've heard these things from the New Testament that God loves a cheerful giver, but I'm miles away from that. Okay, that's my accusation. So let's just start from the beginning. Who gives me the ability to get wealth? Deuteronomy 8:17 says, "Beware lest you say in your heart, by my power and the might of my hand, I've gotten me this wealth." You should remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth. So whose wealth is it? Well, the teaching point is it's His. How much of it? It's all His, and we are just stewards of it. So what does God ask us to do with a portion of the resources that He puts in our lap? Well, that is, He wants us to give them back to Him. It's called a tithe in the Old Testament. So what does God do with the portion that He requires? So let's say we do tithe and we give Him the portion that He requires. What does He do with it? Well, the answer is some of it's going to go into the support of his ministries. In Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 29, it talks about the Levite, because he's got no portion of inheritance with you. He got no land in the distribution. And the sojourner, the person that's left their home country, the fatherless, and the widow, who are within your towns. Who are within your towns shall come and eat and be filled with the stuff that you bring as your tithe to bring back to the Lord, that the Lord may bless you in all the work of the hands that all the work of your hands that you do. So the tithe that we bring to the Lord, some of it goes to the Levites. The modern parallel for Christianity would be to your pastor, to your church staff, to your worship leader. And then it goes to what I'm calling the losers. Well, and these are not losers in value. Don't misunderstand. This is not a pejorative term. I'm just saying these people that have suffered great loss. So the loss of country, those are the people that are called sojourners. The loss of a spouse, those are called widows. The loss of a parent, those people are called orphans. And specifically, those who have lost their financial resources by losing their father, particularly the fatherless. So all those ministries and all those people groups are supported by your tithe. But then here's the mind-blowing thing today, is that He shares the tithe that we bring, He shares it back with us. So it's in celebration. We're supposed to be eating and drinking and eating and being filled, says the scriptures. So in Deuteronomy 14:23 it says, "And before the Lord your God, in the place that He will choose," which eventually is going to be Jerusalem, to make His name dwell there, "you shall eat the tithe of your grain, of your wine, and your oil, and the firstborn of your herd and flock, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always." So you, as the tithe giver, are also, in this case, the tithe receiver. And then he explains like, well, all right, if you bring all that stuff to Jerusalem, if it's too far away, then just do this. Change it into money, then go to Jerusalem and unchange it into money, into stuff. And what are you supposed to do when you get to Jerusalem? Verse 25. "Then you shall turn it into money and bind up the money in your hand, go to the place that the Lord chooses," that's Jerusalem, "and spend the money for whatever you desire: oxen, sheep, wine." And then here's the killer: strong drink, whatever your appetite craves. "You shall eat there before the Lord your God and rejoice, you and your household." All right, so let me pause. Who are you giving your tithe to? To God. Bring a tenth of your stuff with you: grain because you have a crop, wine because you have a vineyard, oil because you have an orchard, or if it's too far away, turn it into money for easier transport, then go to the place that the Lord chooses, eventually Jerusalem, and do something with it. Change it back for whatever you desire, whatever your favorite thing to eat and drink is. Ox, sheep, wine, strong drink, whatever your appetites crave. And then what? Eat it before the Lord. Rejoice with those of your household. So who eats the tithe of the produce of oil, food, and wine? You, because you gave it to the Lord, who gives it back to you. Now, I've never heard this preached on before, and that's why you march through books of the Bible, so you can find treasures like this. Here's the treasure that kind of pictures, I think, grace, which is unmerited favor. So God says, I am due all. I created it all, and I ask you for a tithe, a proportion that you cheerfully give. What do I do as God with it? I invite you to a feast and worship festival that you are invited to. But wait, there's more. It's not just you and your family that are invited to this feast and festival regarding your tithe. We bust open the doors and we get the losers, who have lost their country, those who have lost their spouse, those who have lost their parents. And what then is the natural consequence if you do not participate? Well, if you don't give to God, who suffers? Well, the ministers, the ministries, and the losers suffer. But here's the big revelation: you suffer. So you want to make the Lord of your wallet. Why? Otherwise, you will suffer. You will not share. You will not support. You will not eat and drink and rejoice before the Lord. So in the New Testament, it says that God loves a cheerful giver. That means a person full of joy. And here in the Old Testament, God loves a cheerful, rejoicing, sharing, celebrating giver. Here's the crazy thing. The generous giver is also the generous receiver. So let's just ask selfishly, if you knew that you were benefiting from your giving, would you give more? So we asked yesterday, is he Lord of your wallet? And who is benefited the most by making him Lord of the wallet? I would argue you. You will. What profit is there to making him Lord of my wallet? Well, it profits me, my family, my church, my pastor, my church staff, my community, widows, orphans, and the sojourner. So the main profit is accrued to me. Hey, maybe I should give more. Thanks for listening.